first round here?
Paula says you're overexposed.
Yeah, from underexposed to overexposed.
You're overexposed. I mean, you said I can go first.
Okay.
You just talked about the spine of steel
Yes.
that the next government has to have, and that you presumably say you have. The other day in Oakland, I don't know if we saw that or not, but you gave us 3 different reasons why you wouldn't vote this night. First, it was time, then it was Union Pacific, and you were surprised by how many media showed up. Which of those is the truth, and why now and not then?
Probably all of the above. It was not a good day for the campaign. You know, sometimes you have good days and sometimes you have days that don't work out as well. That was one of the days that didn't work out as well, and I should have hopped over that table and taken questions.
So are you learning as you go here on the campaign?
Well, I didn't do the right thing on that particular day, so, our best today, better tomorrow.
Fair to say a new, more media-friendly Meg?
Well, for sure. I mean, as we had to, we're now really relatively close to the June 8th primary, so there will be lots more media exposure, a chance to do one-on-ones with many of you and these kind of gaggles. 2009, I felt like one of the things I really wanted to do was travel all through California. I hadn't been to many parts of California, and I didn't know the issues on a regional level. So that's what I had spent most of last year doing, although we did over 200 press events and, over 330 campaign events. But you'll have lots more access in the coming couple months.
On the issue of illegal immigration, Steve Poizner says that he wants to kick the kids who are illegal out of school and to deny all taxpayer benefits to undocumented immigrants. Do you agree with that position?
I do not. It has been decided by the courts in California and frankly federal law that we should give K through 12 education to any child living in the United States, and I actually come down on the side of kids. Many kids did not come here on their own, and I am not in the business of punishing kids for the sins of their parents. That said, there's many things we must do to stem the tide of illegal immigration into this country, and you've probably heard me talk about it. We have to secure the border. We have to build an economic fence to make sure that employers don't hire undocumented workers. I want to eliminate sanctuary cities. Case in point is San Francisco. And so we have lots of work to do to control illegal immigration, but I wouldn't go after the kids.
He also said to cut welfare down to 2 years from 5 years, including for children.
Actually, not including for children, for their parents, right?
No, that's what Steve Poizner said. He said including children.
Oh, yeah. No, I just think kids are our precious asset. And, kids it's not their fault on the situation of their parents. So I want to go from 5 years to 2 years before the parents.
You said you wanted to, thank you.
Yes.
You said you wanted to cut 40,000 state worker jobs, and could you tell us where you might cut them so that voters have some idea what your priorities are?
Sure. So the way I want to do this, and let me give you a little context here. We have added 40,000 state workers in the last 5 years. And, today the general fund revenues are about $85 billion. That's where they were just 5 years ago. And we had 40,000 fewer workers. So I don't want to cut public safety, CAL FIRE, CHP. I want to make sure that we reduce the size of the bureaucracy. And this is not easy. But the truth is, we have a government we can no longer afford, and we have to do things differently than we have done in the past. So where we had employees 5 years ago, I'd like to go back to that level, and then I want to use technology to do more with less. I want to run this government efficiently and effectively. So public safety, needs to be preserved, but everything else we have to take a really hard look at and try to. And by the way, I think we can do much of this through attrition. 12,000 people leave state government every year. So if we put a hiring freeze on and didn't hire anyone for 3 years, we'd be 36,000 workers down, which is about where we need to be.
But you would probably exempt public safety then out of that.
Yeah, I would, and I said that,
Does
yes.
that include the prison system?
It does, actually. I mean, we have huge...
So you don't imagine cuts out of the prison system?
Well, no, actually, I think we have to look at that because we have a huge problem in our prison system, right? We have 70,000 prisoners in a prison system that was built for, 80,000 or 90,000. And so one of the things we've got to do is we've got to reduce that population because it is, just unwieldy. So what I want to do is to look at states who have undercapacity, underutilization, and move some of our prisoners to those states. Michigan is a very good example. Nevada is another good example. First of all, I think it will be cost effective because it costs about $50,000 to house a prisoner in California to about $25,000 in the national average. And that may allow us to, have fewer prison guards.
Ms. Whitman, you talk about letting the legislature know what you will and will not put up with.
Yes.
Legislators are elected officials, the same as the governor of the state of California. How do you go about telling an elected official exactly what they can and can't do?
Yeah. Well, I guess what it is, and by the way, we've not met before. It's nice to see you.
How do you do?
I think the first thing is that the governor has to set priorities, and I have talked about that I want to focus on three things. I want to create and keep jobs in California, I want to cut government spending, and I want to fix our K-12 education system. So what I'd like to do is have the legislature focus on those three things. In my view, the legislature's become a bill factory. Last year, they started off with, I think, 2,000 pieces of legislation. The governor signed into law nearly 700, not all of which, virtually none of which, was on point for the crisis we face. So I want to use that veto pen to focus. And I think you have to veto very consistently to let the legislature know, what you think is in the best interest of the state and focus them. Now, by the way, Republicans and Democrats will disagree on how to solve education. They'll disagree on how to solve the budget. They'll disagree on how to make California more business friendly. But at least we will be working on the same issues, and we can move forward to try to solve the crisis in front of the state.
But isn't that one of the differences between being a CEO of a private company and being a governor of the state in public thing?
I mean,
you can't just say, this is my way, and you're fired, or you're fired.
Sure. And this, in my view, is about building relationships as well. The next governor of California has to move to Sacramento. I will move to Sacramento. I will build relationships. But we cannot boil the ocean in Sacramento, and especially in a crisis. In a turnaround, you've got to focus. And so we'll build relationships. And by the way, I don't know any Democrat or Republican legislators who don't want more jobs in California, who don't think we need to fix our education system. So that's what I want to do. And it's about leadership. It's about focus, it's about relationships, it's about working together to solve the problems. And everywhere I go on the campaign trail, John, people are saying, solve the problem. Stop kicking it back to us. Stop putting everything that moves on a ballot initiative. Solve the problems. And that's what I'm going to try to do.
Ms. Whitman, Governor
Yeah, we'll go to you
Schwarzenegger,
next, and then I'll go to you, Jack.
many of the things you're saying are similar to what Governor Schwarzenegger has said in terms of welfare, prisons, cutting prisons, shipping prisoners out of state, jobs, spending. You have, in fact, the same campaign team that he had when he was elected in the recall. Some of the consultants and Pete Wilson supporting you. So, I mean, why would you be able to do some of these things when he has, it's been intransigent for him to be able to do it?
I'd say a couple of things. One is I have a very different background than Governor Schwarzenegger, who, by the way, I have a lot of respect for. He stood up and served and was counted. But I've run very large organizations. eBay was 15,000 people, nearly $8 billion in revenue. And if you've never run a large organization, I think it's very hard to be dropped down into an organization the size of the state of California and execute well. So I'd say the first thing is focus. The second thing is the appointments process. You probably heard me talk in the question and answer tonight. 3,000 appointments, the top 300 of which are essential. I did not run eBay by myself. I'm not going to govern California by myself. If those appointments and all the gubernatorial appointments to the boards and commissions are not exactly right on your agenda, you don't get anything done. And then you have got to be willing to be, in many ways, unpopular. In a turnaround, it is, never easy. And so I will commit to, making the tough choices and living with the consequences of those choices, because if I am elected, it will be what I was sent to Sacramento to do.
So you don't think the people